Why are you yelling at me? I get asked all the time from students and other people that might come through the school for testing, which shields I like the best. In my opinion, that's a super loaded question, except I do have my go-to. For Miller, this is my go-to. This is the Infinity Shield. I do like the fact that it has the auto sense for your welding. It has a large screen. It's good for viewing. So those are a couple of the pros. It has the comfy gear. However, as you can see, I always wear a hat or a beanie. I don't find it super comfortable when I wear a hat. It's not bad when you wear a beanie. It just, I find I have a weird shaped head and it doesn't fit me properly. The things I don't like about this shield are that I find it very heavy. And even though like I do have a little piece of leather on there, it was more for protecting my neck than anything. I was getting a lot of burns. I use this shield when I do a lot of flux core welding, a lot of MIG welding, a lot of high amperage welding. One last thing before I do forget, the one thing I do like the most about this shield is that it has the 4 sensors for the arc. Those sensors are super sensitive. So when I'm doing very thin stainless work or something that uses like less than 40 amps, it's really good for catching the arc and not just flashing you. Like I said, it's a little bit heavy, so after a long day of welding with it, I find that my neck starts to hurt. So it's not my favorite shield. So out of my top 3 shields, this is probably my second favorite. This is the Speedglass 3M 9100. It's not the XX, I think XXI model, just the XX. The only real difference is that the other model has a button that is actually, it looks like it's part of the outer shroud, and you hold the button and it puts it into grind mode. So it's kind of cool. Definitely convenient. My favorite part about this shield is that when it
that you had you could you do you want you
I like to use it in the field. So whenever I'm wearing a hard hat, even though this one isn't actually made for going on a hard hat, as you can tell, I had to make my own drill mounts for going onto the buttons of a hard hat. But it's super light. So when I'm wearing a hard hat, having something else on my head, I don't know about all you other welders out there, but my neck doesn't like to have a lot of weight on it anymore. It's very good for your hard hat. Even though, like I said, I had to drill my own holes for it. They do make a kit, but the shield tends to be way farther out from your face. I don't like that, especially when I'm trying to get into a tight area or close to a wall or anything like that. It's very basic. There's not a ton of settings on it. It's not super fancy. It's just super light. It's super reliable. It doesn't fog up. I find that this shield, out of all the shields I've ever owned, I feel like it's because of the fact that when you breathe, it goes up in behind and kind of ventilates out of the side of the shield. It makes it so it doesn't fog up your lens. So if you're working outside and it's cold out, other shields, you'll breathe, they fog up, then they freeze. The only thing I really don't like about this shield, I like everything about it except the fact that there's no button on the outside to set it up for grind mode, and there's no actual settings on the shield itself to set it up for grind mode. So you almost have to have 2 shields with you. You have to have a grinding shield and then welding shield if you're doing any prep work or if you're doing anything with the prepping for pipe or grinding out your tacks or feathering your tacks, anything like that. Becomes very annoying. I do like the side shields. That's a kind of a mixed opinion. A lot of people I talk to aren't used to it. They don't like it. This is actually a new shield, so it's still got the plastic on it. However, I find that if I'm welding and I can see kind of to the side, you can almost kind of gauge where you got to go and how you got to adjust what you're doing as you start progressing forward. So now my number 1 go-to shield. Even though it's not the lightest of the 3 I just showed you, it's super comfortable. It's a little bit fancy. It's got a little touch screen on the inside. So this is the older Centennial A50. The new A60s don't actually have a touch screen anymore. They went back to buttons. I mean, it makes sense. We're welders. We wear gloves. It's not typical that you would actually need a touch screen. It is fancy though. My favorite thing about this shield is how it fits on my head. It's comfortable. It keeps it close to your face. So when you're working on things, you don't have to worry about being, a little bit farther depthing your gauge for perception or anything like that. And it has the grind button on the outside. That is by far my favorite feature of this shield. If I'm working on anything, I just hold the button, do what I got to do for grinding, feathering tacks, like I said with pipe. If I got to do some prep work on something, I'm not switching out shields. I'm just holding it and grinding with it. I like this shield, just the way it's designed, the way it feels, the viewing window, even though it's not as large as the Infinity, or even the Speedglass, it feels like it's bigger. You can see farther because of the way it's positioned on your face and how close it is to your head. But other than that, it's overall, it's just my favorite shield. It's just comfortable, in my opinion. So this is my final shield that I want to review. I wouldn't say it's my favorite shield, other than the fact that for a life preserver, this is it. It prevents all those fumes and dust particles and everything from getting into your lungs. This is 3M speed glass ad flow. So the ad flow is your filter, has a battery on it, so it turns on and ventilates within the shield as it seals in around your face. So a couple things that I really, really like about this model here is that it has the grinding option. So, like I said before, that's kind of a pet peeve of mine is when I have to switch between shields when I'm trying to do one job. But especially when you're grinding. If you're grinding aluminum, titanium, stainless, none of that is good for your lungs. This shield is just like the other speed glass, very basic as far as settings go. However, it has that grinding option, completely seals you off from all these dust particles, all these bad gases you might be breathing in. You can get separate filters for the actual ad flow. So if you're working around something that maybe had chemicals on it or anything like that, you can get different particulate filters for it. And this particular one has the hard hat. Now, you guys are going to see the price tags on these, and they are very expensive. I personally bought 2 of them for my guys, and I bought them both secondhand. So I just went through a good cleaning cycle with them both and got them new filters, all that stuff. If you were going to go and buy one, look on Facebook, look at your local pawn shop, just do a really good cleaning on it, and you won't have to worry. The nice thing about them too is it almost feels like air conditioning on your face when you're using it. On a hot day when you're doing a lot of scarfing or grinding or anything that is going to overheat you and exhaust you, this goes a long way.